Hi, I'm Anna Denton-Jones, and this video is being made at the end of June 2024 when we are about to have an extension to our sexual harassment legislation coming into force in the autumn, whereby there will be extra teeth, so extra potential costs for employers if there are steps that they could have taken to prevent sexual harassment in a particular case that they haven't. They'll find that if the individual is successful, the judge will increase the award that they make to that person accordingly by up to 25%. So lots of employers thinking very much at the moment about beefing up their training, beefing up their policy. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, what we would put in a sexual harassment policy. Now, of course, any document that we put together is going to cover the usual things like, who it applies to and what it's for and, what level of management is responsible for it and, all the sort of things that you would have in any policy. But the specific things that are related to this policy would be explaining what sexual harassment is. And there are two aspects in the legislation to that. So the first part you'll be quite familiar with is that behaviour which leads somebody to feel uncomfortable, that is intimidating, hostile, creating a degrading environment for them in the workplace. Big crossovers with what you'd have in other aspects of dignity at work or anti-bullying and harassment policies. But there is also the second ingredient, if you like, in sexual harassment cases, which can be around somebody having submitted or refused to submit to unwanted conduct of a sexual nature that is related to sex or gender reassignment in the past. Whilst we're on that subject, it is worth thinking about making it clear in your policies that all genders can be affected by this issue. I think it's also really important for employers to start outlining, all the things that we know from the case law, so that it isn't just behaviour in work that could be problematic. It may be that it's outside of work behaviour at staff social events or work-related functions, business trips. It may be that it's social media behaviour that is the problem. So manage expectations amongst employees as to what sexual harassment is, and make it very clear that it's something that's not going to be tolerated in the organisation. Things like a single incident can be as problematic as a pattern of behaviour. Maybe give some examples so that people understand what the issues are, and that it's not necessarily something where there has to be an intention for harm to take place. So somebody doesn't have to be targeted with something. Classic example being somebody looking at pornographic images on their work laptop whilst other people are around. Those other people can be as offended by that, even though the person isn't showing them the pictures. I'd also go on to explain victimisation in my policy. It's a word which people tend to understand the dictionary definition, but not perhaps the legal definition. So just a little bit around that. And that as an organisation, you may choose to take action in respect of things that you learn about, even if it is outside of work, if it has an effect on the organisation or the individual's ability to perform their role. So maybe manage people's expectations that, if they are engaging in conduct outside of work that maybe gets picked up by the press or something like that, that you would be able to take action in those cases. In terms of the process side of things, similarities, of course, with grievance policies, with bullying policies, where you're going to be suggesting people take informal steps to resolve something, and put some support around what that might look like. And then what happens if they decide to raise a formal complaint. Now, because we're dealing with these things all the time, we know the difference. We know what a formal complaint, the steps typically are, and what the organisation will have to do. So we'll have to think about things like whether there's a temporary change in reporting lines or other steps that can be taken to make sure that further instances don't happen while something's being investigated. We'll know the timescales and things like that. But of course, an employee bringing a complaint probably doesn't know any of that stuff. So build in that information to make it clear to an individual what is likely to happen and what you're going to expect from them. So you're going to expect them to set out the details of what happened so you can go away and properly investigate it. There may be cases where you decide that something's been raised, maybe informally, that's heard about on the grapevine, where the organisation does have to decide to pursue something, even though the individual isn't actually that keen for it to be looked into. So it's, again, managing expectations around these sorts of things. I think I'd probably also do a section on what do I do if I witness sexual harassment, so that we've covered that off. And as well as managing expectations around, how long all of this is going to take, maybe manage expectations about what possible outcomes will be. So yes, it is entirely possible that disciplinary action might be taken against somebody who is a perpetrator, but the individual isn't necessarily going to know the fine details of that if they're the one who's brought the complaint. There may be situations where disciplinary action has been taken and then we have to get back to everybody working together. So there needs to be a section of your policy talking about that, and what things may be done to assist in restoring an ongoing working relationship. That's probably enough from me at this stage. Should just say that what I've said in this is subject to any change in the Commission for Equality and Human Rights are about to issue guidance over this summer. What I've told you obviously takes into account the current guidance. It may be that they've come up with some ideas and things that the rest of us haven't thought about, that we all get to learn about when they do publish new guidance, and that any policies or any training that we're doing will need to be updated to take that into account. I'm doing quite a lot of training over the autumn on sexual harassment in organisations. Some organisations are branding it more widely about treating each other with respect, rather than just making it sexual harassment training. If you want to know more details about that, do get in touch. It's adenton@refreshinglawltd.co.uk. Thank you very much.